It's 5:45 and it's time to practice. All right, so as I'm sitting here, I'm going to get started with my short game practice here. Really, I just want to review. When you practice, there's basically three main things that you should be working on when you do practice. And I'm going to call this practice as opposed to practice tests or testing your practice. So with practice, when you're actually working on something, when it comes to your short game, really you should be, the first thing is working on your technique. So that means that, you shouldn't, when you have a group of balls, like right here I have a group, I got 10 balls. I usually use 10. It makes it real simple when I'm trying to get a feel for how I'm doing, 70%, 80%. It's very easy to do that. Hit the same, from the same location to the same hole, and try and hit the same type of shot. So don't be jumping around and going all over, hitting a variety of shots when you're trying to work on technique. So you're working on, getting aligned and maybe trying to keep your hands firm, or the rhythm of the shot, or whatever, thing that you're working on. That way you can work on that drill and know that the goal, like I talked about earlier, the goal is not the result where the ball goes, but working on that little piece that you're trying to focus in on, trying to keep your forearms relaxed so your hands operate, function properly. And even if you didn't quite hit it the distance you wanted, it doesn't really matter if you were actually accomplishing your goal. So that's the first thing, is that, work on technique. The next thing that you want to work on are changing up the variety of shots. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can have, a lot of people tend to be using like one club, like a sand wedge, lob wedge, something like that around the green all the time, which is okay. If you don't have a chance to practice a lot, it's hard to practice all the clubs a lot. But what you'll find is you can change the trajectory of the ball and the amount of run out that it has by setting up either the same way, and just how firm you keep your hands will change it. So you can, experiment with that. Take 10 balls, use it where your hands are soft, then slightly firm, and then, or when they're very firm. And so the trajectory will change. The firmer you are, the lower the ball flight typically, and the more run out that there will be, which is important because sometimes, you want a little bit more run out on the ball, either because it's going up a hill, or maybe it's going up a ridge. If a pin is just up over a ridge, you don't really want to try and hit a flop or something that flies up there, because it's very hard to judge that distance, and maybe very hard to even stop it in time. And so rather hit one at the bottom, below the ridge, and let it release and go up. And then the next thing is to work on is the trajectory based upon ball position. So if you're able to hit it consistently with your technique, and then change your grip pressure, your hands to affect the trajectory and the run out, you can also change the trajectory and the run out based on ball position. So the farther back in your stance, the lower it will go, and the more it will tend to run out, and the same going up. So if you work on those, again, remember, you have to work on, whatever your goal is. In other words, if the goal is to work on that ball position and experiment and see how it flies, do that. Don't worry about if the ball flies too far and it ends up going, 10 feet past the hole, or comes up real short. That does not matter. Just work on those pieces. Then when you're done working on those various things, the technique and hands and ball position, then take a look at the shots that are in front of you, and imagine the type of shot that you want to hit. Okay, so in this case, I only have a couple of feet to carry it onto the green, which you still can't see because the light's coming, but it's not here yet. And I have 30 feet to the hole. Now, the fact that that is the shot in front of me, or the situation that I have in front of me, doesn't really matter. There's a lot of ways you can hit that shot. You can flop it, you can hit it halfway, you can hit it just on the green, and practice those various shots. Try and hit some that are more of a flop shot. Try and hit some that are, and try and find those spots and try and hit those spots. It's really the way you should practice your short game. Work on the technique, work on various ways to affect the shot, and work on that part of it, and then actually try and hit the shot to where you care about the result of exactly where it goes. Remember when you're working on your short game that really, the purpose behind a lot of it, yes, is working on your technique, but to teach your hands. Your hands will learn how to function differently, as far as staying firm and or being soft and loose, or it's really about your body being creative and training your hands, because in the short game there are so many variations on the shots that you might have to hit. You see it all the time. The guys on tour, they're outside of a bunker, but they've got one leg down in the bunker, the second one they're on their knee. It's a real steep slope, and it seems like they're really leaning hard, and they have to kind of create something. And so you're out in the golf course, and you have maybe it's around a green, but it ends up being like a slight downhill lie going uphill, maybe off of a hard pan, or there's a ton of grass. There's so many variations, and so when you practice your short game, you're kind of training yourself to improve your imagination, the feel in your hands, and so that as you get out in the course, if you have a standard shot where it's just relatively beside the green, in a standard lie, either the nicely shortcut grass where it's a nice lie, or even in a little bit deeper grass and it's kind of a standard lie, great. Those are going to be much easier, and you're going to get those up and down. You're going to hit a lot closer, a lot more often. But so often, depending upon the types of courses you're playing, you will get a wide variety of types of shots. And so by working on your technique and your hands learning what to do, and seeing your eye being able to see all these types of shots as far as trajectories and runouts and things like that, and working with different clubs, you'll be able to be more creative on the golf course, because that's what you're going to have to be if you're going to improve your short game and actually save some strokes out there.